Hello, and welcome to episode number 31. My name is Torsten Tabel, and the topic that we're going to talk about today is money. Money and significance. Where do you make money significant in your life? This actual conversation came out of a conversation that I had with my sister. It's interesting how some of these topics happen with talking to her. And it also applies to a lot of different things. Like it applies to, I think for a lot of people, kind of where they are with their life, and often the way we view money. And kind of what spurred this conversation was a reminder of we were talking about when we were kids, and actually this was a conversation that my sister was kind of refreshing from one that she had with our mom about when I was a kid, when I was younger, I would find money all the time. In fact, and I was looking for it, apparently, not that I even knew I was looking for it, but I would find, and now that I thought about it, when she reminded me and I'd look at it, yeah, I'd find, random $5 bills or $10 bills, or I remember this one time I found a purse with all this money in it. We ended up finding the owner and giving it back, and if I remember correctly, they gave me a reward for that. And so, it showed up a lot. And as a kid, I definitely didn't have any significance around money. And for me as a kid as well, I had money all the time. Now, I had odd jobs and I would do things, and so I'd earn money. But money was always abundant in my world when I was a younger kid. It was never a problem for me. If there was anything that I had a desire that I wanted, I always had the money to buy it. And it always showed up for me. And so it's interesting when you get into your adult life, sometimes things change a little bit. And so sometimes that change has to do with the points of view that we have around certain things. And money is a thing that, a lot of people have these points of views and make money very significant in many, many different ways. In not having it, in having it, or having it in a certain way, having it show up in certain ways. There's all these parameters that we have around money. So what if we didn't? What if we didn't have all these fixed places in our lives on the way money is in our life? And what if those fixed things could change? And what if they weren't actually fixed? What if they weren't significant, if we didn't make them solid and real as we do in our world currently, or in most people's worlds currently? What if it had so little solidity, so little significance that it didn't run your life in any aspect or any way? How different would your life be? If you really took seriously just a moment to look at that, wow, all our lives would be completely different. Probably what we would choose to do is something completely different. And so that kind of gets me on the next thing that was tied in with this for me. So I'm playing with something different over the next couple of weeks. I've decided to take essentially a short-term sales position. And I'm not big on selling. It's not something that's really that fun for me or that interesting. Yet I've chosen this because I was reading a book and it was really neat. And in this book, the person talked about doing different types of jobs. I'm a person that doesn't like to do the same thing for very long. So I will jump around and do different things. And they talked about having each job as a learning thing, as a place where you learn something new that you don't currently know, or information or things that you haven't really done much in the past. And so you're literally taking the job to learn something else. That's why I took this job. It is really to see a different way of using the tools that I know, knowing what I know, and then applying it to selling something. And it's been interesting. I'm just starting on it, and so we'll see how it goes over the next 2 weeks. And so the next video might be delayed or come at a different time. But it was really interesting. As I was doing my training, I was playing a lot of different tools, and that's a cool thing. Like, there's so many tools that that we all have at our disposal if we are willing to use them. And so again, this money thing shows up, right? So what if there wasn't significance around selling something for a certain price, seeing people's reaction to what the price is and what they're willing to pay for different things? And so it's really interesting to see and be aware of that when you're in that kind of environment, when you're in a place where you're actually selling something that people may or may not be actually interested in. And so it takes a different kind of approach to it. And so again, like if you really got rid of all your points of views, and some of you may be asking in this very moment, well, how do I do that? How do I get rid of my points of views? Well, one of the things you can do is any point of view that you have, any view, anything fixed, anything that you don't think can be changed, you just ask to destroy and uncreate it. And that's all that's required. And you may have to do it a few times, but it's just to destroy and uncreate. And so that's one thing that I've been playing with. And I've also been looking at it, like really becoming aware of the points of views, and then being aware of those choices and looking at what else I can choose, what else anyone can choose. And it's this kind of the sharing moment. And it's really funny, like one of the tools that I don't use that much, it's called How Does It Get Any Better Than This? And it's a question. So you ask it as a curiosity, as in, so, I wonder, how does it get any better than this? Instead of, which most people go to, it doesn't get any better than this. That's where most people go to. They're like, wow, we've just hit the pinnacle. It's all downhill from here. So what if it wasn't that? What if it was the question of it, and really being in that energy of question of like, I wonder, how does it get any better than this? Like, this is pretty awesome, and how does it get any better? And so I was playing with that question. It was really cool to see what shows up, and just asking different questions all the time, essentially reminding, and it's like a reminder to yourself to be that question. That's really what it is. It's really to be that question. And it's a practice of reminding yourself to be the energy of question. And just always be asking. And so I think the biggest thing is I've been aware in my daily life, I probably haven't been asking as much as I know I could be. And that's cool. It's not a wrongness. Just being aware of it. And so what else can I ask? And just something as simple as that. My other favorite go-to question is, what else is possible? Like, again, from the curiosity of, I wonder what else is possible. And it's not from the, I'm looking to find out exactly what that is. It's from the question of like, I wonder what else could show up here that I've never considered. And really being in that play. And so when it comes to this whole money piece and this, we have so many defined conclusions, expectations of how it's going to show up, that it can't only show up a certain way. What if it wasn't actually that? And these are the points of views that we have around money. And it's all these places then that we make whatever those are significant, that they can't be anything different. And if you have a story going, and you may just be telling yourself that story over and over to reinforce the story so that you actually believe it. And you make the story significant. And so the story actualizes. And it already has probably actualized if you're constantly saying it over and over again, whether it's to you, to other people, or just in your head, whatever that is. And so in playing with that, it's like, what if something else was truly there? And by asking these questions, and then when you realize you're in the story, you can just ask to destroy and uncreate the story, your points of view around money, destroy and uncreate your significance with money. And what if you could have money show up in a different way, that it's more of a play and a curiosity of what it could do or be? This may seem abstract to some people, and to some people it may be something that they're like, bingo, that a light bulb goes on or something like that, and you're like, wow, this just made me realize something. And so it's going to be different for everyone. And it's interesting, again, when you actually start looking at these things and start playing with these things and becoming aware of where you make things significant. And it may be anything, it may be a whole bunch of things. Maybe it's just not money. Probably, maybe could be more than just not money. Money is a great one because it's something that people can see right away. They can see it in their lives. It shows up. It's something that we use daily. It has, it's kind of tangible in people's worlds. And you can also use this to look at other places that you make things significant that maybe not actually are. And they may actually be then limiting you for creating something greater, much, much, much greater. And that's really where the fun actually begins, is when you start looking at the greater of you. And the greater of you and fill in the blank, money, you and relationships, you and yourself, you and this earth, you and society, you and reality, you and... So what else can you create here? What else can you create with others? What else can you create to be an invitation for something else to show up? And what if one of the ways you could do it is through money? Because people can see that. Again, it's something tangible, and that's why it's often used so much in so many different areas, because people can generally see that, and it makes it's easier to see, let's put it that way. And so that's why I chose that topic today. And it is fascinating when you start to choose to become more aware of these hard points you have, these points of views, these significances, again, whether it's around money or something else. Also intensity, pains, whatever. I had something recently where it was interesting to see what showed up, and in looking at it and asking questions, I had intensity in my feet when I was going to sleep, and this was showing up for weeks, months, and so far it's gone. So, you know, and it was through destroying and creating and looking at it and looking what else was possible, and what else I could actually look at and choose, and also not take on from from others. So yeah, it's playing with these tools. It's playing with this, and really looking at the possibility. Really looking at, so what else is possible in this curiosity? What else could I choose? How does it get any better than this? And being that space, that curiosity, see what shows up. See if you have a lot of significance around things, money, and what if it wasn't significant? Man, if money was like paper, your life would be different. You'd treat it in a completely different way. You'd do it in a totally different way. You would probably even interact with it in a different way. If you saw it as something else than you currently see it as. And currently, because of your resistance to it, possibly, you might actually be pushing it away. The reason I bring up the resistance, because that's something I am actually brilliant at. I'm really, really good at resistance. It may not always show up. It may not always be clear, but I definitely have resistance, and most of the time it's to myself. I have resistance to me, which is kind of odd, but then again, I'm quite odd, so it all works out in the end. So it's these places that, and so for me, my resistance I've actually made significant. So as gives you an example. And I realized that it doesn't actually create the reality I'm looking for. It doesn't actually create me. It doesn't have allowance of me. So when I go to that place of resistance, now I'm way more aware of it, and I pick up on it way quicker, and I acknowledge it as well when it shows up. And so that's been also shifting for me too. So that's going to be kind of fun to play with. And so, yeah, what can you play with around the significance of money, and what else is possible with that? And how does it get any better than this? And playing with those things and seeing, just playing with a couple of those tools, what can shift, and then destroying and uncreating anything that shows up in your world. And I know that if you actually ask those questions, that worlds shift, your world can totally shift. And so I encourage you to play with this. I encourage you to ask these questions at least 30 times every day for the next week, and see what shows up. And let me know, because I'm interested. I'd like to know what shows up in your world. And because I know it's really changed in my world, even the last few days when I've been playing with something different. So ask some questions, see what happens, choose something different, and maybe it'll change your life. Until next time, have a good one. Bye. Thanks for joining.